Students, are you able to see the screen? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the topic, today's PBL topic is obstructive jaundice. So I am going to talk, or you are going to answer some 4 case scenarios. We are going to solve them. I'm not going to teach anything about, obstructive jaundice apart from, this is a case-based learning. It is, a problem is obstructive jaundice. And the 4 cases I am going to discuss. If you know these 4 cases, I think you will be knowing everything about obstructive jaundice for undergraduate level. Okay, that is what I am not talking for postgraduates. Postgraduates means they must know the operative surgery also. For undergraduates, you need not know how to do the surgery, but of course, you have to know the name of the surgery. Okay, this is something like flipped classes. Flipped class means nowadays they are doing it. Actually, we will share the learning resources with the students. You students, you have to learn on your own at your home and then come to the class. In the class, your level of comprehension, how much you have gained after, reading those things, that is what we are judging in these classes. That is what is called flip class. PBL is also almost similar. That is what I am going to use. So I am one by one, only 4 case scenarios I am going to, show to you, and I will be asking a lot of questions. You have to actively participate. I request, then only it will be interesting. If you know the answer, even if it is wrong, doesn't matter. This is the place where you have to commit mistakes. Then only you will learn. Don't hesitate, don't be shy. I want all of you to actively participate in this PBL session. Okay? Right. Now we are going to the first case. I think the same case I have discussed on Monday itself. Okay? The right upper quadrant pain plus jaundice, the same case I discussed. Doesn't matter. This is the first thing I want to discuss. Case number 1. This is a 45 years old female patient came to the hospital for the complaints of right upper quadrant pain and jaundice for the past 1 week. There was no history of fever, but history of high color urine and pale color stool. On examination, okay, patient is jaundice clinically, and abdomen is soft, no mass palpable. The jaundice is also not a progressive jaundice, it is intermittent jaundice. Okay, now I am going to only the questions I am going to ask you. So the question number 1, what are the investigations done in figure 1 and in figure 2, and what are your findings? The other day I didn't show the figure 2, I didn't show. I showed only the first picture. Now, okay, you tell me, any one of you, what is the investigation in figure 1? Hello?
RCP, sir.
ERCP, very good. What is the investigation in figure 2? Yeah?
MRCP.
Yeah, MRCP, very good. Why you are saying the figure number 2 is MRCP and figure 1 is ERCP? What is the difference you are seeing there?
Because they know there's no endoscope.
Very good. Yeah. In the figure 1, you are seeing the endoscope there. In figure 2, you are not seeing any endoscope there. Okay. Can you tell me the findings in both the pictures? Yeah. Yeah.
Presence of stones in the bile duct in both the pictures.
Okay. Both the pictures, you are seeing some filling defect. You are seeing 2 stones in figure 1 and 3 stones in figure 3. Okay. Apart from that, what else you are seeing?
Dilated.
Dilation.
Dilated common bile duct. Okay, only the extrahepatic you are seeing. What else you are seeing? Are you seeing only extrahepatic biliary dilatation, or I'm talking about extrahepatic? What is the thing then? Intrahepatic biliary dilatation, that is also there. Are you able to see in the liver area also? You are seeing the dilated, the ducts. That is intrahepatic biliary radicals. Okay, what is your diagnosis now? What is the diagnosis and why you are saying so? Yes?
Choledocholithiasis.
Okay, fine, good. Why you are saying it is choledocholithiasis?
In this case, we see the gallstones outside, in the biliary tree, and also there's no fever.
Yeah, no fever. Very good. Suppose if patient is also having fever, apart from pain and jaundice, patient is also having fever. What is that?
Then we can suspect cholangitis.
Yeah, okay, that is what the next scenario is, that only. Okay, I am not going to discuss that now because the next scenario is cholangitis only. What is the diagnosis? Why you are saying so? Yeah, you have answered. What are the different causes for obstructive jaundice? Intraluminal cause, mural cause, extramural cause. Can you tell me? What are the different causes for obstructive jaundice? Intraluminal cause. Tell me.
Choledocholithiasis,
Yeah, choledocholithiasis. Okay.
Clonorchis sinensis,
Clonorchis sinensis. Yeah, okay.
and
Clonorchis. Yeah.
other parasites like Ascariasis,
Ascariasis. Okay, this is intraluminal. What about the cause in the wall?
cholangiocarcinoma,
Cholangiocarcinoma. Okay.
and
Anything else?
sclerosing cholangitis.
Sclerosing cholangitis. Very good. Extramural cause?
Carcinoma of head of pancreas,
Carcinoma head of the pancreas. Good.
and periampullary carcinoma.
Periampullary carcinoma. One more thing in the portahepatitis. Yeah.
Portal lymph node.
Portal lymph node. Okay. Suppose your patient is a known case of CA head, CA stomach. Okay, they will develop a secondary node in the portahepatitis, very big node, and this node will obstruct the extrahepatic biliary radicals. Patient will go for obstructive jaundice. So you have to know only this thing. Explain the physiological basis for high color urine and pale color stool in this patient. Because in the history they are telling, okay, high color urine and pale color stool. What is the cause for the high color urine? Can you tell me? Yes? Presence of conjugated bilirubin in the urine. Okay, good. Very good. Why only conjugated bilirubin is there? What about, suppose if it is a pre-hepatic jaundice, will you get bilirubin in the urine?
No,
Pre-hepatic jaundice.
because it's unconjugated.
Unconjugated, why it is not getting excreted in the urine? Why?
Water soluble.
Yeah, it is not water soluble. Very good. It is fat soluble. Unconjugated bilirubin, it won't, even though it is very much elevated, increase, it cannot get excreted in the urine because the unconjugated bilirubin is fat soluble. It is not water soluble. Okay. What about, what is the reason for this pale color stool? Yes?
Is it the deficiency of stercobilinogen?
Yeah, very good. Not deficiency, complete absence of stercobilinogen. Why? Why stercobilin is not produced in the body? Why? What happened?
Obstruction.
It's converted in the intestine. So if it doesn't reach the intestine.
Yeah, no bile is entering into the intestine because it is a complete obstruction. Obstructive jaundice. So if no bile is entering into the bile, naturally the body cannot produce the stercobilinogen, and that is why these patients are having pale colors too. Okay. What therapeutic procedures are being done in figure 3 to figure 5? This is, I think I didn't show you the last picture the other day. I included this also today. So what is this? This picture, that is figure number 3, 4 and 5. Figure number 3 is what? What is this? What is this?
Sphincterotomy.
Yeah, what is that instrument they are using? Sphincterotome. No, the first picture. First, not the first, the third one. Third one, this picture. Okay. Now, okay, I'm zooming it. So this is sphincterotome. Okay, this is a bow-like, okay, instrument or gadget. At which position they are cutting the sphincter?
12
o'clock position.
Why at 12 o'clock position? Why?
Because of the vascular
Yeah, it is a avascular area. Why should you cut the sphincter, first of all? Why you are cutting it?
So
There
that
must
can
be
trap
some,
the stools.
yeah,
To trap the stools.
okay, but why should you cut it? Sphincter is always in a sustained contracted state. So you cannot introduce this Damian basket inside unless you are going to cut it. That is why the first step in stone extraction is you must do a sphincterotomy. That is what they are doing it with this sphincterotomy. This is the first picture. Second picture, what is the instrument they have introduced and they have removed the stone? What is this called?
Domino basket.
Yeah, Damia basket. Okay, you have to introduce into the CBD because you have done a sphincterotomy. So now you can introduce it and you can remove it. It may be one stone or it may be several stones. So whatever may be there inside, all the stones you have to remove one by one. You have to remove all the stone. This is sphincter. This is Damia basket. Okay, if Damia basket is not available, then you can use this one. What is this?
Balloon.
Yeah, this is are you able to see that balloon inside? They have already extracted one stone already. One stone is down in the duodenum. Another stone is just going to come out of the sphincter. Are you able to see? This is the balloon. So balloon, you have when you are introducing it, this will be in a deflated state. After introducing inside the CBD, you have to inflate the balloon and then you have to pull it out. So along with the balloon, okay, the stone also will get extracted. It will come to the duodenum. Then you need not bother about it. It will come down and it will come in the fecal matter. Okay, this is how you have to remove the stones. This is called balloon swipe. Okay, okay, right. Now the final question is, what other treatment you should do in this patient? Now, okay, you have removed the stone. After removing the stone, immediately you have to put a stent also. Okay. After that, you have discharged the patient. But what else you have to do in this patient? Yeah. Can you tell me?
Lap polycystectomy.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. This you should not forget. That is the whole treatment because the origin of all this gallstone is from the gallbladder only. If you are not going to remove that fellow, that gallbladder, it will keep on producing gallstone. Patient may again go for choledocholithiasis. So that is why you must remove that gallbladder also. Suppose you are unable to remove the stone by this, this endoscopic method, this ERCP. What else you can do? Before endoscopy is there only for the past 20, 25 years, maybe 20 years. Before that, while I was doing my postgraduate, there was no ERCP. So what surgery we were doing to remove the common bile stone those days? Even today, if you are unable to remove it by ERCP, you have to do only open surgery and then you have to open the common bile duct also, remove the stone. What is the name of that surgery? Yeah, choledocholithotomy. Very good. Yeah, that's all in this case scenario. I am just going to concentrate only the questions. That's all. I am not going to teach you anything. I am just measuring. Today I am happy because, but I'm seeing only very few of you are answering. Others are passively. I told you you have to actively participate. All of you should participate. Yeah, then only it is useful for, because I don't know, I am hearing only few of you. If it is face to face, teaching, okay, then I can look into your face, who is answering, everything I can look. Here I cannot see all of your faces. Yeah, that is the problem here. Okay, we will go to the case scenario number 2. This is 50 years old lady brought to the hospital with complaints of right upper quadrant pain, jaundice, and fever with chills for the past 1 week. Patient is also having fever. History of high color urine, pale color stool, and skin itching present. Patient was also slightly confused. On examination, the temperature was 102 degree Fahrenheit, heart rate 110, BP is only 90/60. Abdomen is, there is slight tenderness in the right upper quadrant, no mass palpable. Okay. Now, what is your diagnosis in this case and why you are saying so? What is your diagnosis?
Is it
Hello?
suppurative cholangitis?
Suppurative cholangitis. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Why you are telling it is suppurative? You didn't even tell me, I mean, you haven't told me it is cholangitis. You told straight away suppurative cholangitis. Why you are telling it is suppurative cholangitis? You are correct. 100% correct.
Reynolds Pentat.
Yeah, Reynolds Pentat. Very good. What is this Reynolds Pentat? Can you tell me the 5 things? Yes, please.
Fever, jaundice,
Fever, jaundice,
right
yeah.
upper
Right
quadrant
upper
pain
quadrant.
abdomen. Okay, then
altered mental status,
altered mental status and
hypotension.
hypotension. Okay, this is your Reynolds Pentat. Our patient is not even in ascending cholangitis. Already patient is in shock. BP is only 90/60. Okay, what is the investigation in figure 1 and its finding? The same thing what we have discussed in the previous case. Here also, what is this investigation? What is this investigation? ERCP. What you are seeing? Plenty of arrows you are seeing. What is that?
The stones.
Yeah, this is stone in the common bile duct. Okay. And this side also you are seeing something. That is stone in the gallbladder also you are seeing. Okay. Gallbladder also you are seeing some stones inside. So this is a case of cholelithiasis. Okay. All right. Okay. But for this patient, you already, with this history, it looks like it is suppurative cholangitis. Okay. What is this investigation and what is your finding? The same thing I discussed the other day also. What is this? What is this white structure inside? Suppose if it is suppurative cholangitis, what will you do to drain the infected bile from the body? Can you tell me?
PTBD.
Yeah, PTBD. Is it PTBD? Now I am showing you one picture. You have to answer only this picture. This is not
It's not
PTBD.
PTBD.
Yeah, what is this?
Nasobiliary
drainage.
Yeah, this is nasobiliary drainage. You have to put a stent inside. The end of that stent will come through the nose, and you will be draining the bile through the nose. That is called nasobiliary drainage. How will you put the stent inside in the CBD? What you will use to put it inside?
ERCP.
Yeah, ERCP. Yeah, correct. You are correct. You have to use the ERCP. You have to put the stent inside. Okay. If this is not possible, what is this? What is this? You are seeing a very thin needle there. So what is this? Now you tell me. Yeah, this is PTBD. Yeah, what is PTBD? Can you, because this is an acronym, can you expand this acronym? What is PTBD? Percutaneous transhepatic biliary drainage. Okay, this is the other way. If ERCP is not possible, you are unable to remove the stone or put a stent, then you have to go for this procedure, PTBD. Because our aim is you have to remove the infected bile from the body. Now at this stage, suppurative cholangitis stage, you need not bother about the stone in the common bile duct at all. You have to concentrate how to remove that infected bile. Either you can do this nasobiliary drainage or you can do this PTBD. PTBD definitely you can do for any patient. So you can drain, either you can put a needle inside or you can put a tube inside. This is PTBD. Okay. After that, what you will do? Okay. What therapeutic intervention? When once patient is stabilized hemodynamically, what else you have to do? Now the stone is still there. Okay, now but you have managed the cholangitis, suppurative cholangitis. You have drained the infected bile. You have given a lot of antibiotic, broad spectrum antibiotic. Patient is settled down, hemodynamically normal. Now what else you have to do? Still stone is there. So what you have to do now?
Again, the ERCP with sphincterotomy.
Yeah, you can repeat the ERCP, try to remove the stone if possible. Suppose even now, ERCP, you are unable to remove the stone, okay, you can do open surgery, open the common bile duct, do cholecystectomy. Okay, all these things should be followed by what else? What else you have to remove?
Cholecystectomy.
Yeah, very good. Cholecystectomy, don't forget that. Cholecystectomy also you must do in these cases. Very good. I am going to case number 3 now. Okay. This is 60-year-old man. He has been brought to the hospital for complaints of painless progressive jaundice for 15 days duration. There was no history of fever, but history of high color urine and pale color stools present. On examination, patient is jaundice. Okay, but patient is also having painless globular mass in the right upper quadrant. Okay, this is the difference because here it is not painful, it is painless, it is not intermittent jaundice, it is progressive jaundice. Okay, patient on examination, patient is also having a globular mass which is painless in the right upper quadrant. So now what is your diagnosis?
Carcinoma of the head of pancreas.
Carcinoma, yeah, very good, excellent. Excellent. Okay, what is Courvoisier's law?
It's an enlarged palpable gallbladder.
No. Law is a law. You should not change even a single word. You have to tell within quote. In a jaundice patient,
In a jaundice patient,
if gallbladder is palpably enlarged, it is not due to gallstone. You shouldn't change even a single word in this. You have to tell it within the quote because it is a law. You shouldn't make your own law. Don't change even a single word. I repeat, Courvoisier's law is in a jaundice patient, if gallbladder is palpably enlarged, it is not due to gallstone. Okay, that is the law. Why it is not due to gallstone? Suppose if it is gallstone, 95% of our, CBD stones are only secondary stones. They develop from the gallbladder and then they come to the CBD through the cystic duct. Okay, so it is developing in the gallbladder. So while the stone is there in the gallbladder will undergo repeated infection and inflammation. It will become fibrotic. So when the duct getting obstructed, it cannot distend because this is not a fresh gallbladder. It is already inflamed. Okay. Suppose if it is head of the pancreas, no infection or inflammation in the gallbladder. So this gallbladder can distend. If there is an obstruction, lot of bile will go into the gallbladder, it can distend. Okay, this is the Courvoisier's law. But there are some exceptions to this law. Suppose if there are two stones, one stone in the cystic duct, another stone in the common bile duct, then okay, you can get a globular mass even though it is gallstone. Double stone, you have double impaction. Or suppose if the stone is not secondary stone, primary stone, stone is developing in the CBD itself. It is not developing from the gallbladder. Then also, okay, gallbladder is there. You can feel a globular mass, even though if it is a gallstone. These are the two exceptions for this Courvoisier's law. Okay. Question number 3. What are the investigations shown in figure 1 and figure 2? What are the findings? Okay. What is this investigation you are seeing here? Yes?
Yes.
RCP.
Okay. What is your finding here?
Issues
Dual duct
Dual
sign.
duct sign.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. This is dual duct sign. What do you mean by dual duct sign?
There will be
Dilated common
Dilatation
bile
of
duct
and
Dilatation of both common bile duct
and
and
Pancreatic
pancreatic duct.
duct.
So what is there? They have shown an arrow there. What is that arrow?
loss of bile signal.
compressing the lower part of common bile duct and the terminal part of
Pancreatic duct. What happens? That area. It is extramural. What happened? Extramural compression because of CA head of the. There is a mass there. That mass is compressing both the CBD and pancreatic duct. So you are injecting the dye. Okay, dye can go. Yeah, but there is a gap you can see. This is extrinsic compression in that area. If you are seeing a dual duct sign like this, okay, that is characteristic feature of CA head of the pancreas. What is this investigation? What is this?
CT abdomen.
CT of the abdomen. What you are seeing? Lot of red color arrow you are seeing. What is that?
It's a tumor on the head of the pancreas.
That is a tumor in the head of the pancreas. Okay. This is very important because you will be able to know the operability of the tumor by taking a CECT. It's not just CT. You have to take a CECT. You have to find out whether the tumor is inside the pancreas or whether it is abutting or encasing the nearby vessels. What are the nearby vessels there? Superior mesenteric artery and superior mesenteric vein. So if these vessels, abutment means less than 160 degrees, 180 degrees. Yeah, if it is touching that artery less than 180 degrees, that is called abutment. Still you can do surgery. Suppose encasement means, okay, it is encircling the tumor more than 180, maybe up to 360 degrees. Okay, if it is engulfing or encasing the arteries, if it is more than 180 degrees, you cannot do surgery because no, it is involving the major blood vessel. That is the problem. You can do only palliative surgery. Okay, you have to know the resectability of the tumor. For that, this CT scan is very important. Yeah, for staging the disease. Okay, I think what is the treatment shown in figure, the last figure, these two figures, you are seeing the first one is all the parts are intact. The second one, they have removed the diseased part and you are seeing 3 anastomosis. Can you tell me the name of this surgery?
Whipple's
What?
operation.
Whipple's operation.
Yeah, Whipple's operation. What is the other name for that?
Pancreatoduodenectomy.
Very good, excellent. You have to remove the pancreas as well as duodenum. Okay, only one question I want to ask you. This is cancer of head of the pancreas, but why you are removing duodenum also? Can you answer?
Because of the same blood supply.
Very good, excellent. This is just like a conjoined twin. Blood supply is same for both the head of the pancreas as well as the duodenum. So whenever you want to remove something from the body, the first thing you have to do is you have to cut off the blood supply. If you are going to cut off the blood supply to the duodenum, the blood supply to the pancreas, the blood supply to the duodenum also will get cut off. So you cannot remove just head of the pancreas alone. Whenever you want to remove the head of the pancreas, it should be associated with removing the duodenum also. Yeah, you cannot remove it alone. So then you must know the blood supply also, superior pancreaticoduodenal and inferior pancreaticoduodenal. Superior pancreaticoduodenal is a branch from gastroduodenal artery, whereas the inferior pancreaticoduodenal is a branch from superior mesenteric artery. Okay, right. They have removed the head of the pancreas as well as the duodenum here. Okay, that area. Here, after removing resection, they have done 3 anastomosis here. Can you name those anastomosis here in the picture too? Here, are you able to name the anastomosis, please?
Gastrojejunectomy.
Gastrojejunectomy. Okay, that is D. Okay, the anastomosis D. Okay.
Choledochojejunectomy.
Choledochojejunectomy is B. Okay, good. And what is A?
Pancreatico
Pancreatico-jejunectomy. C is they have closed that jejunum. That's all. They have closed that jejunum. Okay, jejunum they have closed that. Yeah, this is what you are seeing here. This is pancreas. You have to remember only these things: choledochojejunectomy, pancreato-jejunectomy, and the gastrojejunectomy. These are the 3 anastomosis you have to do. Suppose if patient is inoperable, the tumor is inoperable, then you need not do this Whipple's operation. You can do what is called a triple bypass, where there also you will be doing 3 bypasses, but not choledochojejunectomy. Instead, you need not remove the gallbladder. You have to do cholecystojejunectomy. Okay, cholecystojejunectomy. Okay, you have to do gastrojejunectomy and then jejunojejunectomy also. This is called triple bypass, palliative triple bypass. If your patient is having inoperable tumor, then you have to do that. Yeah, if it is operable, better you go for I mean the Whipple's operation or pancreaticoduodenum. But what is the prognosis in these patients? Can you?
Death to incidence ratio is 1.
Yeah, what is 1?
The death to incidence ratio.
Death to incidence ratio is 1, means all of them
Means-
is going to die. You cannot save even a single patient. This is just like a death sentence. If somebody is going to get pancreatic cancer, definitely they are going to die. Whatever is the stage, they are going to die. Even if you are going to do, maybe they may live for 5 years if it is very early case. But unfortunately, you cannot pick up the case very early. Only after they get this jaundice, then only you come to know that these patients are having C ahead of the pancreas. Prognosis is very, very dismal. Okay, very bad prognosis. Almost all of
So
them
I
are
have a
going to die.
question.
So that is why this Whipple surgery, okay, they may live for maybe some more years, that's all. But you cannot prevent death. That is what I want to tell you. You have to tell this to the patient's close relatives that this nobody can cure this disease. Even if you are going to do the Whipple's operation, patient may not survive. Maybe they may live for little longer. If they are going to live for only for 1 year, after doing a very good Whipple's operation, they may live for 3 to 4 years. That's all. You can just extend longevity for few more years. That's all. You cannot prevent their death. So the prognosis is very bad. Okay, I'm going to discuss one more case. That is the last case. Okay. Our patient is a 60 years old woman, presents with pain abdomen and intermittent jaundice, okay, for 1 month duration. There is history of loss of appetite and loss of weight. And patient is passing silver color stool. I am not telling pale color stool. Patient is passing silver color stool. On examination, painless globular mass is there, palpable in the right upper quadrant. So this is the endoscopy you have done. What is your diagnosis and why you are saying so? Can you tell me the diagnosis in this case?
Periampullary carcinoma.
Very good. Excellent. Periampullary carcinoma. Why you are saying periampullary carcinoma?
Intermittent jaundice for 1 month.
Intermittent jaundice. Okay. Okay. Very good. Intermittent jaundice. And okay, loss of appetite, loss of weight. Okay. And most important thing is the silver color stool. That is very important. My next question is that only. What is the cause for this intermittent jaundice? Why should these patients in cholelithiasis also you told intermittent jaundice? When I asked why there is intermittent jaundice, you told the stone is not static. It will go above or it can go below. It is floating, and that is why they are having intermittent jaundice. But what is the cause for the intermittent jaundice in periampullary carcinoma? Can you tell me?
Part of it can undergo necrosis.
Very good, excellent. Part of this tumor, this is a endoscope, upper GI endoscope. You are seeing a tumor in the sphincter of OD region. Okay, this is periampulla, at the area of ampulla. So this part of this tumor will undergo necrosis. It will fall off. So that extrinsic compression will get relieved. Patient will get relieved of jaundice. So patient will be having jaundice for 1 week, and after the necrosis and this, tumor fallen off, so the obstructive jaundice will get relieved. Patient won't have jaundice anymore. So 1 week jaundice, another 1 week no jaundice. By the time another 1 week, the tumor will regrow. Again, there is compression. Again, the patient will go for jaundice. This is what is called intermittent jaundice. Okay. The cause for the intermittent jaundice is partial necrosis of part of this tumor. Okay. And it will fall off. Okay. What is this investigation? The second investigation. Can any one of you, can you tell me? You are seeing something round center. So what is this investigation? Have you seen anywhere? I think I have shown somewhere.
Endoscopic ultrasound.
Endoscopic ultrasound. Very good. Excellent. Endoscopic ultrasound. Yeah. You can, this is the best investigation for
tumor staging.
Which is tumor? Thyroid tumor. Which tumor?
GI tumor.
Any GI tumor starting from esophagus to anus. Any GI tumor, the staging can be done. The best investigation for staging any tumor is this endoscopic ultrasound, because you can make out even a very early stage, whether it is involving only the mucosa, lamina propria, or muscularis propria, or transmural up to the serosa. Everything precisely you can stage by only by this instrument. So this is the best instrument for staging any GI tumors. This is called EUS or endoscopic ultrasound. I told you this is a hybrid instrument. Endoscopy is one technology. Okay, the ultrasound is another technology. They combined it both, and this is a hybrid instrument. You are seeing the tumor there, down. Yeah, you are seeing the tumor. How much it is invading, everything precisely you can make out. Okay. Yeah. What is the cause for the silver color stool? Can you tell me? Normally in obstructive jaundice, what color stool you will get? Obstructive jaundice. Pale color stool. But here I am telling silver color stool. What is the cause for that?
Due to acholic stools with blood.
With blood. Very good. Excellent. Acholic stool, pale color stool is mixing with, where is the blood from? Blood is coming from where? Yeah, you are seeing the tumor there. This is a GI tumor. This will bleed, no? This is a carcinoma. Periampullary. This is in the duodenum actually. This is a duodenal carcinoma, periampullary carcinoma. So this will bleed. If you examine the stool for Ruckle blood, what is the test called? Stool for Ruckle blood?
Guaiac test.
Guaiac positive or
Oh, Guaiac, sorry.
FOBT, fecal occult blood testing, or Guaiac positive. So that will be positive. This blood will mix it with the pale color stool, and that turns the color of the stool into silver color. This is characteristic feature of, you will see it only in periampullary carcinoma. If you are getting a silver color stool, you have to be aware of periampullary carcinoma. Of course, you have to prove the diagnosis by taking a biopsy. What type of carcinoma it is? Squamous cell carcinoma, or what type of carcinoma it is? Periampullary carcinoma. Yes? Is it squamous cell or adenocarcinoma? Adenocarcinoma or squamous cell carcinoma?
Adenocarcinoma.
Adenocarcinoma, yes, correct. Adenocarcinoma. So if whenever you are dealing with adenocarcinoma, suppose if it is advanced stage, okay, lymph nodes and all palpable, what is the role of chemotherapy? What is the role of radiotherapy? Chemotherapy, okay, you can give. What about radiotherapy for adenocarcinoma?
Radiotherapy is for locally invasive?
No. Adenocarcinoma, there is no role of radiotherapy. Only if it is squamous cell carcinoma, okay, you have to give radiotherapy. Otherwise, all adenocarcinomas, carcinoma in the stomach, carcinoma anywhere up to the colon, yeah, upper part of the colon, you should not give. There is no role for radiotherapy because these tumors are not radiosensitive. You have to use radiotherapy only for esophageal tumors, which are squamous cell, the rectal and anal tumors, which are squamous cell carcinomas. There is no role of radiotherapy for any adenocarcinomas. This you must remember. Okay, what is the treatment in this case? Again, the same treatment. Yeah, the same thing. The same treatment for here also. So, what is the name of the treatment here? Yeah, yes. Yeah, what is, yeah, it is Whipple's operation or pancreatoduodenectomy. Yeah, pancreaticoduodenectomy. The same thing. Okay, I think, yeah, it is over. Thank you. Thank you. I am coming there. Hello.
Hi, sir.